Hello, everyone, and welcome to Arches. I've been eagerly awaiting this one. I think it's going to be fun. I've been looking at it a little bit and kind of getting an idea of who these two characters are, so the voices will be different from what they were when I was doing Echo. Hopefully, everyone's okay with it. But without much further ado, let's get into it, and I'll have more to say later on. Run. Running was something he was always good at. He was always the fastest in his class. Just last year, he came in second in the 200-meter dash at the state track meet. Just 8 months ago, a coach from the University of Pueblo approached him about joining the track and field team after graduation. Just last month, he realized he was the fastest freshman on the team. Just last week, he started to hang out with older men who could get him into Pueblo gay bars. Just 3 days ago, one of these men spiked his drink. Just 2 days ago, he woke up in restraints. Just yesterday, he was being tortured. Just 10 minutes ago, he escaped. But now, he's realizing that it doesn't matter. Everywhere he looks is only burning desert. There's no one. His attempts to scream for help matter even less because his voice is broken. He can barely wheeze after what the man did to him. And now his empty, droning sounds are being swallowed up by the desert. All the while, the heavy steps scraping through gravel behind him keep coming. The man isn't in a hurry at all. Running was something he was always good at. But now, when it matters most, he can't do it. The fastest freshman at a D1 university is no faster than an old druggie. He definitely would have been if he'd eaten anything over the past 3 days. If his ribs weren't broken. If he could see straight. The man had given him something. He told him it was for the pain. But the pain is still there. And now he can't even stand. His balance is shot, and he keeps stumbling until he's just crawling on all fours. It's now that he realizes the man had let him get away on purpose. This makes him realize something else. He's going to die. Tired from the drug, from the past 3 days of constant fear and torture, and from trying to run, he collapses. He lays there in the dirt, sobbing, even though tears don't come out. He'd run out of those after all the things the man did to him. The light above is blinding. He wonders if this is God. His mother is a devout Catholic, and even though he never believed, he promises this light that he'll become a believer right here and now if it saves him. The crunching gravel footsteps get closer. I need to go. His voice is still ragged and hoarse. The footsteps come even closer. I have a meat. There's a childish, high-pitched laugh. Think I must have hit you one too many times. All you do is talk about their fucking track bullshit now. The huge form moves closer. You know that shit don't matter no more, right? His chest aches with overwhelming sadness and despair. And it's not just because he's about to die. It's because his mom won't know what happened to him. And it's because the last text he saw from her said, "Love you, bug," with 10 heart and kissing emojis. At the time, he just rolled his eyes and didn't respond. He thought he'd be able to do that the next day, or the day after that. After he'd been kidnapped, the man took his phone and sat it on the counter. It sat there and buzzed over and over with messages, and his kidnapper only laughed when he asked to at least read them. Now the tears flow just as the man leans over him with something heavy in his paw. He hopes his mom is right about God. He hopes he can see her from the other side. Just so he can respond somehow. But there's only... Cameron holds on to the seat tightly, the coyote's teeth rattling together with every pothole they hit. His boyfriend, Devon, doesn't seem bothered at all. The bear's paw on the wheel with an elbow hanging out the window. He had been singing loudly to the music playing through the car's Bluetooth speakers, and it wasn't until cell phone service was lost that Devon finally seemed to notice Cameron's unease. "You alright, babe?" "I think you could go a little slower." "What?" Cameron raises his voice, yelling over the rattling interior. "Go slower!" "Why? This is the kind of terrain this baby was built for." "Okay, but..." Cameron's voice bounces as they hit another deep groove in the destroyed road. "We don't know what's around any of these bends. What if it just drops off and we go down a ravine or something?" "That's what the roll bars are for, honey." "And I'm pretty sure I'm about to chip a tooth." "Oh, come on. You gotta admit, there's something nice about feeling the road." Cameron doesn't respond and goes on clutching at his seat. Devon does slow down a bit, though, more carefully maneuvering around the most broken up parts of the road. What happened to the road anyway? It's only been, 5 years? Flash floods, according to what I read online. Obviously, no one's around for upkeep. So this is what happens. Oh yeah, I forgot how this state works. Dry as hell until a wall of watery death comes down the road during the monsoon season. The coyote tenses up as the bear makes another smooth, but still sudden turn. And it's even hotter than I remember. How are you even a coyote, Cameron? This is your climate. You know better than to say that. Just because I'm built for it doesn't mean I have to like it. Yeah. But you hate it in Fort Allen, too. It doesn't get ungodly hot there, though. I can at least deal with it. Well, the transfer to Bonneville City is looking good, so you won't have to deal with it much longer. Cameron shrugs. Milder weather would be nice, I guess. Devon grins. Nicer weather, nicer scenery, and nicer people. Everyone's a Mormon. Which is why they're nice. The ones living down here aren't. There's a big difference between the fundamentalists and the normal ones. The ones that baptize dead people and wear Jesus jammies under their clothes. Dev shrugs. Most religions are weird when you break them down like that. I'm just saying, whether it's magic garments or prairie dresses, they came from the same fucked up place. Devon doesn't say anything, and Cameron realizes how bitchy he sounds right now. Sorry. I just worry how they might look at us. It's hard to judge people when they're all fake nice. Yeah, that's true. But look! Dev nods his head toward Cameron's window, and the coyote follows his gaze. The rocky, uneven landscape has opened up to a wide expanse of blue. That's like Emma, which means Echo is. The bear looks ahead, and the first thing that Cameron sees is a tall, rusty sign with letters on the top that he can't quite read from this distance. Below it is a small, shabby building, and beyond it are a few smaller, even shabbier buildings. Cameron wasn't sure what he'd feel like when he first saw the town. If the coyote really is what Devon thinks, then right now he'd feel all the awful, evil things that supposedly happened here. Those small, rundown buildings should be exuding the memories of their past, which would then be projected into his mind. But Cameron feels nothing. Of course, he kind of knew this would be the case, but he'd never been to a place that was famously haunted. Not like Echo, anyway. So he worried just a little bit. Dev asked him in the past to go on his amateur paranormal investigations. All because the coyote could see things. He reminded Dev the proper word was hallucinate. The things he saw were manifested by his own mind. There was no reason for him to give it fuel by going someplace supposedly haunted. Dev got the message pretty quickly and stopped asking. They still talked about all those interests he had, though, and Cameron realized there was a lot more to Devon's interests in ghosts than just dumb fun. And even though he refused to entertain Devon's psychic bullshit, the bear still took care of him. He'd done so much for the coyote that Cameron was embarrassed to think about it sometimes. So, when Dev got this chance to go to the place he'd wanted to go the most, Cameron decided he had to go as well. He's doing this for Dev, to show his appreciation for everything that Dev had done for him. Still, Devon had been trying to make this seem more like a vacation of sorts, like Cameron wouldn't be doing any investigations at all. He would need to talk to the bear and let him know that he was willing to do this for real, at least within reason. He also needed to tell him why he didn't like doing this, and that part might be hard. It doesn't look so bad. For a ghost town, I mean. Looks can be deceiving. Hang on. Gotta pull over for a sec. Why? Wanna scout out the lake a bit before dark. And also, I gotta take a massive leak. Cameron tries not to sigh, just wanting to get into the town so he can be sure he doesn't feel anything. To really make sure that there's nothing to be worried about. He isn't worried about ghosts, but rather his own brain and what it might do. The road becomes smoother and newer looking as they pull up to the lake. They were trying to turn this reservoir into a recreation spot right when it all happened. They both get out, Cameron stretching his legs gratefully. That's too bad. It kinda looks nice. Yeah, this place has had a long string of bad luck. Bad luck is one way to put. Hold that thought! I'm gonna pee. Devon waddles away, clearly having held it until he almost couldn't anymore. Cameron shakes his head, remembering all the rest stops they pass on the interstate. With a sigh, Cameron leans up against the Jeep, staring out across the lake. This really isn't all bad, so far. Sure, they weren't in the town yet, but all those dreams he had, all those terrible feelings, they seem silly now. It's just a small former town with a sad history. If his brain was going to manifest something out of this, that something would just be sad. Cameron knows that his hallucinations aren't real. He's known that since he was a kid, after he first saw a monster in a raincoat in his trailer home. He also knows that ghosts aren't real either. But Devon believes, or at least he wants to believe. He wants it so badly, and he thinks Cameron can see them. Cameron knows there's something extremely wrong with what could be a disorder being used like this. Devon is also aware of this, painfully aware. To the point that Cameron was able to tell him days in advance that he was going to ask about taking him on this trip. And yeah, this is wrong. But the bear doesn't even think Cameron is mentally ill, or at least that's how it comes off to the coyote. Devon doesn't understand how it feels to struggle with reality, to have these problems and never get a proper diagnosis. Cameron just knows that something is wrong, and always has been. That, and Cameron never really told him what it was like, so how could he understand? He told him a little bit, but he'd always been worried in the back of his mind that Dev would leave if he told him everything. So Devon took those snippets of insight into Cameron's psyche and somehow interpreted it as him being gifted. He couldn't blame the bear. Sometimes the things he sees do seem to have a deeper meaning, like there's more to it than just mental health. But isn't that just the nature of various mental disorders? Not recognizing the illness for what it is? It had been over 5 years at this point, And Dev had seen Cameron at his worst, at his absolute craziest. And somehow he'd stuck around and still believed the coyote was just a normal guy with some personal issues. Cameron hugs himself a little tighter, realizing that now is the time to really talk about it. And then after this, I can have a fresh start in Bonneville. Phew! I am at least 3 pounds lighter after that. You know, while I don't mind taking a piss in the wilderness, I'm not doing anything more than that. Yeah, I was kind of hoping there would be a porta potty or two around here, but it looks like we'll have to dig some holes. Dev! Oh! Just kidding, babe. We can drive to the rest stop. What's wrong? The coyote pauses, trying to get into the mindset this sure to be uncomfortable conversation is going to require. Just give me a sec. Cameron sees the bear's demeanor change instantly. Oh, okay. But, well, I'm giving you that sec. I'm sorry for teasing you and being all gross. I know this isn't really what you want to be right now. And I was just trying to lighten the mood. And it's because I love you. Jesus Christ, stop. Devon goes quiet and swallows, the loud sound it makes almost comical. There's a pause, and though Cameron tries to keep a straight face, the tension just seems to break on its own. I would much rather hear you make poop jokes than act like that. It's so weird. What? Being considerate? Sorta. You are considerate, just not in that weird, anxious way. Well, sue me for trying to be careful. I just don't want to say something stupid and... Cameron cuts the bear off, not wanting to put this off any longer. Devon, just listen for a minute. I know you haven't said it, but let's just get it out in the open that we both know I'm here for more than company. I'm not stupid. And I just want to say that I don't think this is a good idea because what I have is some kind of problem, not an ability. I know I shouldn't think of it that way, but I researched it and I just don't think it lines up with you having a mental. Dev cuts himself off as Cameron sighs deeply. Please don't. I'm sorry. Devon cuts himself off this time, trying to hide a wince. I mean, you're right that we don't exactly know what my problem is. I just know it's not good. But what's important is if this helps you, whether I think it's real or not. You've done a lot for me, and I want to be able to do something for you. No, what I think doesn't matter. What's most important is... So, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna be your psychic for the weekend. Wait, really? Dev, I'm not spending the whole time role-playing like we're having a good, innocent time in that murder town. But I don't want to make you do something you don't want. Oh, I want to. I might not like it, but I want to do it. If only for you. Cam. Nope. I've made my decision. And I'm doing it. But just this once. If you're sure. But please, don't put me ahead of you. And I did some research on that forum you linked to me a few years back. So my sixth sense is primed and ready. That seems to finally snap Devon out of his reluctance and slight annoyance at getting cut off every sentence. Wait, seriously? There were so many people like you on that forum. Did you... Listen. I want you to find your answers. I really do. But I think the worst thing I could do is lie to make you feel better. I'm going to be completely honest about everything. Cameron leans up against the Jeep. Whether or not I see something. Of course, that's what I want! And that's why you shouldn't be getting your hopes up right now. I'm just telling you that I'm gonna try. The bear stares at Cameron for a few seconds, just smiling. What? I'm just glad I met you. And that we're together. And that you're here with me. Devon wraps an arm around Cameron, pulling him into his side as he leans up against the Jeep too. But, seriously, if you ever feel like, I don't know, you're just not into it, just let me know. Oh, as long as you're not expecting anything, I think it'll be alright. Yeah. Devon goes on grinning, and Cameron narrows his eyes. Because I'm getting the feeling that you're expecting a lot. Devon pauses, seeming to think. Well, I'm also happy that you're being more open to this. I always felt like you didn't want to talk about it. Cameron also thinks. I guess I just didn't want to be told that what I see must mean something, you know? Yeah. That would get old pretty fast. But since we're talking about it now, does it not? Like, some of the things you mentioned don't make sense, like that raincoat creature. But whether your old friend who, you know, got shot in the head after I hallucinated that someone shot him in the head. Yeah, that one. This is what I'm talking about. You and all of us, really, like to see meaning in everything. That we have a purpose in life, a reason, purpose. The meaning of life means nothing to the universe. Everything just is. Whether it has meaning is up to us. Yes, it's weird that I hallucinated the way he would die, but he was also involved in things that could have led to that. I knew he'd been dealing drugs in a really risky way, so I knew his life was in danger. And I was on fucking ketamine. All the reason is there. Well, Devon shifts around, clearly uncomfortable and trying hard not to look that way. I get that. But there's a lot of other examples I could bring up. Maybe it's coincidence. But at some point, don't you have to wonder if maybe it's something else? Cameron sighs. Of course I have. But what always worries me about this paranormal stuff you're into, and the afterlife and all that, it reminds me of my mom. Dev doesn't say anything, just waiting and listening. You know, toward the end, right before I left, she was usually amped up on something to stay awake for her 3 jobs. Whether it was amphetamines or meth, she barely slept. We had this box fan in our trailer, and one day, after she turned it on, she asked me if I could hear someone talking from the fan. Cameron had debated on whether or not to give Devon all the details about his mother, but he feels like he needs to say it. If only so that Devon would have some explanation as to why. I said no. But she sat next to it and listened, and eventually had this huge epiphany that it was God. And she did that for weeks. And that's almost all she did when she was home. Listening to the fan talk to her. I'm not sure what all it was saying to her. I don't even think I really understood what was going on. I just knew that sometimes STEM addicts did that kind of stuff. Especially when they don't sleep, you know? But then she started to look for specific shapes. Arches and half circles. This voice told her that she could get into heaven if she passed under the right one. But the voice also told her that the devil would trick her with fake ones to make the real one harder to find. She pointed these out to me, but there were so many. And yeah, they were there. But when you look for these patterns, for something as simple as the shape of an arch. Cameron traces a finger along the arch of the wheel he's leaning against. You're gonna find them. Eventually, she told me everything was warped. I guess she was so fucked up that these shapes just popped out at her. Like her brain was highlighting them and she couldn't ignore them. On the last day, she told me that even I looked like an arch, and that she thought I had been damned to hell. She looked completely done. She told me she'd be back to save me, and then just walked out of the trailer. A few hours later, she drowned trying to swim under a bridge, and everyone in the trailer park kind of saw it as just another delusional druggie getting themselves accidentally killed. Cameron had told Devon his mom drowned in a river while on drugs, but the details are chilling, and the bear just wraps his arm tighter around Cameron. But I think it was a suicide. That she was just so tired of her shitty life that she bet on that bridge being the arch that would lead her to heaven, one way or another. So that's why I worry about following these patterns, even if it's just something like looking for UFOs or ghosts. Like, yeah, the meth and lack of sleep pushed her over the edge, but is there something genetic there too? My dad had problems too. What if I'm predisposed to it? I thought drugs were making it worse, but I haven't used since the second month after I met you. And I still see shit sometimes. I mean, whatever is going on with me, it's stable, but I wonder if that'll last. Devon clears his throat. I would never let that happen to you. I know I say stupid shit about it, but I know it can be dangerous, and I'm always looking out for you. Honestly, it's nice to hear that. Because just letting my mom sit next to a fan for 3 hours straight every day, feeding on her delusions, was the dumbest thing I've ever done. But I was high on my own drug of choice because I just didn't care. But the thing is that even through that hell she was in, she cared. I took too much a few times, and even though she was listening to her fan in her own world, sticking post-it notes to all the shapes she saw, she still noticed right away when my breathing wasn't right, and I woke up to her spraying Narcan up my nose. Cameron sees Devon tilt his head in question. It counteracts opioid overdose. But the thing is, my mom didn't like opioids because they made her nauseous. So that means she got those nasal sprays just for me, just in case, even when I thought she was too absorbed in her own world to care. So it hurts to think about that night, how I just let her walk out of our trailer like that. Cameron takes another deep breath. He hadn't planned to talk about that last part, but it just came out. I'm sorry. I really wasn't planning to go into all of that. Dude, do not be sorry. But it's part of why I am the way I am. I know my symptoms don't perfectly match up with what you've researched on the internet, but they're close enough. And honestly, maybe you're right. Maybe there's more after we die, and somehow I can help you find it. But if things go south, and if something's wrong with me, just pull me back. Seeing the shape of an arch, remembering all the markers she put on them, it's like a reminder of what happened to her and what could happen to me. Wordlessly, Devon pulls Cameron into a hug, and the coyote presses his head against his chest. At that moment, Cameron realizes why so many people love their therapists. He had always worried that Devon would get too weirded out by what happened when he was a teenager. That he would finally see all the skeletons in his closet, neglectful, neglected, abusive, abused, and so hopelessly addicted. Just like his mother. The definition of trailer trash. Cameron was all of those things at some point in his life, but he knows that doesn't matter to Devon. After a while, Devon lets go and they start getting back in the Jeep, the bear feeling slightly shaky. Cameron opening up just now had been truly harrowing. Devon had known bits and pieces of his coyote's history, but to hear it like that, how he'd overdosed and almost... Dev shudders. He's just glad that the coyote is safe with him now. Out of that hellhole. As he's about to get in on his side of the Jeep, he stares out toward the town just a mile or so away. While Cameron had told him that this had all made him feel better, Devon was feeling more conflicted than ever. Everything that Cameron just told him practically screamed that this was a bad idea. That this wasn't good for him. Does it matter what he thinks about Cam's hallucinations? That his skimming of abnormal psychology literature about hallucinations led him to believe Cameron wasn't mentally ill? No. How could he take him into Echo after hearing that? How could he ever drag him into this endless hunt for the truth ever again? Yet, at the same time, Cameron's telling him he wants to do this. Dev looks over the hood at Cameron, tapping his blunt claws against the soft top of the Jeep. Hey, Cam, what do you say we just keep going north? Check out the desert? You know, see what Bonneville might be like? See what the Mormons are really like? That could be fun. While he says this, there's a crushing feeling in his chest, dreading that Cameron might say yes, but at the same time hoping that he will. I mean, with the way things are going, I don't even know if we'd be able to cross state lines in a few weeks. They're starting to shut everything down. But Cameron stares back at him before smirking. Oh no, this is something you've wanted to do for years. I mean, fuck me for dropping all that on you right before we got there. But you know I'm a procrastinator. I don't want you feeling guilty, but just be aware. And I kind of want to face my fears in a way, you know? I'm ready for this. And before Devon can say anything else, Cameron gets in. Devon looks over at the lake, actually not sure what he's about to do. If he was a good boyfriend, he'd drive away from this place. Cameron would yell, curse, and moan about how it took them 10 hours to get there. And Devon would shut him up with one of those sugary abominations from Starbucks. And he would never talk about Echo again. He would listen to Cameron and trust him about how it actually felt to see awful stuff. They'd move, get married, get a big house, and sooner or later, Devon would get his answer, because everyone does at the end. As they pull out of the parking lot, he thinks he's made his decision. But even as he tells himself he's going to turn left, back up the road they came, he turns right. Because just before he did, he sees a flash of pink in his mind's eye floating in the middle of a pond. And it's like someone hit him full force in the chest. Before he knows it, Echo is ahead of them. I think that's going to do it for the first parts of Arches. So, hopefully you're enjoying the character voices I gave them. I'm trying to do Seth Rogen for Devon and Michael Cera for Cameron. I think they kind of match up well. I kind of immediately got the feel that it was like a Seth Rogen-ish feel from Dev. I couldn't really narrow down Cameron, so I kind of just felt Michael Cera, Scott Pilgrim would probably be a good one. That's just how I feel. Yeah, that's what I got. As of right now, that beginning. Whew, my thoughts on it, that intro was good. The intro was really good. Just Brian being Brian. Holy shit. And now it's already set up that there are some people still here in Echo. And of course, it's going to be Brian, because who else would it be? Maybe Duke. I wonder if there's any other members of the game, because I have not researched Arches at all. I really haven't. I have a tiny bit of research, maybe. Maybe. But I don't think so. So, yeah. That's what I'm kind of thinking right now. And I also noticed Echo did not have a lot of movement. It was all very still sprites. And this has a lot of movement. So obviously someone's skill in RenPy, and it's Python based, so Python has gotten much better. So I don't know who did this one, but y'all done did good. Y'all done did good. So, please let me know how you're enjoying the voices. and what you expect, what you're really hoping for. So I'd like to experience it. The end of the Echover, well, maybe. For me, maybe. But definitely the end of this. We'll see. Until then. Oh, and also, I heard that Arches doesn't have a path. You don't choose routes. They don't have routes in Arches. It's just the story and then it's done. And from the fact of its echo, it's going to be an intense one. So, thanks for joining me as we begin into Arches. Until then, thanks everyone, and I'll see you on the next route. Bye!